Okay, so have you ever noticed that when people leave the military, they're not really sure how to dress? Most of them wear uniforms for much of their lives. Then when they come out, they're not really sure how to dress like a civvy. Take my dad, for example. After 20 plus years in the Navy, he had some real fashion trials. First, there was his Hawaiian shirt phase, and then there was his, what I like to call his vintage golfer phase. But I think today's guests really take the cake, because they've swapped one uniform for another. Ladies and gents, it's time to put out the bat signal and prep your standard NATO. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, thanks for having us. My name's Alan. And, what else?
Yeah, well, so you're a veteran. What did you serve in?
So I was in the army. I enlisted in 1991, and I got out in 1996.
Great. I'm going to make you feel really old right now because I was born in 91.
Oh, well, there you go. That was a good year for starts.
Good year.
And my name's Paul. I enlisted in 2000 and served until 2010 and served until 2015. So I served for 5 years.
Cool. So you were both Army then?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your service. What did you do in the Army?
I was only reserves because I had a full-time job and I'd already started a family, so
fair enough.
It wasn't perfect for me to do full-time. I wanted to, but my wife basically vetoed that.
No, not happening.
So I served for 16 Battalion, which then changed to 1128, or other way around, I can't remember which one it was. Based in Joondalup, and then just infantry, so I did the standard infantry things. I guess that's basically my very brief history.
Yeah, great.
Did my Kapuka, did my singleton, all that sort of stuff, and then was here at Joondalup.
Great. And how about you, Al?
Like I said, I started in 91, enlisted then, different building to here. I think it's a bit further down the terrace where we did the whole raising the hand business.
Yep.
Went over to Kapuka, did my time there. I got sent to Corps Transport, so then straight down to Puckapunny. Well, actually, I was at Kapuka for an extension because at that time the IAT courses weren't starting until early in 92, so they held us over there after we'd already marched out, just doing duties and bashing Dixies and whatever else, but able to go to the big boys' mess, so that was good.
Yep.
Then from Puckapunny, I got posted to 11 Field Ambulance as a driver, so it was a really good non-call posting, and spent all my time there. Field Ambulance got disbanded in, I think, March of 93 and became 11 Med Company of 6th Brigade Administrative Battalion, so 6 BASB. I don't know what it's called now, I think it's had a few different changes. But yeah, so basically I was a driver in a field ambulance unit.
Great. And so now you work for Transperth?
Yeah, so I'm with the PTA now in Transperth. I'm a supervisor in the security services branch.
And how is that? Like, is that hugely different? Is it worse or better than the Army?
I don't know. I mean, it's government. It's a uniform, so pretty much switched from one uniform to another. I got out, I think, in February of 96, and by April I was in this job. So, I'm still ironing a shirt and,
still shining the shoes.
Yeah, still, shaving for the most part every day. So, a big change. I've been there for 22 years now.
So, a long freaking time.
So it is a long time. Yeah. No, but it's good because a lot of ex-defence service people there as well. So it makes it really good to connect with people straight away.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a bit of a natural kind of transition, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
And what are you doing for work now?
I work for local government. So I've changed my cams for high vis. So
Nice.
I don't need to iron mine, but it's still the uniform, and I prefer that. Like when I was in the army, like I only do the required time, but when I go away for my 2 weeks, I like wearing the cams and just having the army the uniform every day. And then got into the high vis, and it's good. Just high vis straight on. The structure, the routine. While it's a different change of uniform, we're all about uniform today, but it's still the standard structure.
Yeah.
I love just having the uniform. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And don't have to do the shaving like I does though. So
you let it run wild a little bit. And you guys wear other uniforms as well, except a lot of people would call them costumes.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
We don't like to use the word costumes.
Fair enough.
So I get into cosplay, which is basically costume play abbreviated. So it's basically we get together at a few different conventions and charity events and pull on a costume and do things. So my main one is Batman, so I do a classic style Batman costume, but I have sort of over the last probably 12 or 18 months started to branch out from that, just a little bit of diversity for my own just to get some new skills up with making things.
Is there any particular reason why you choose the characters you choose?
Oh, I don't know. It's sort of
Because he's old, so he does classic Batman.
96 he's done.
I'm not as old as Batman, but anyway. I don't know. I mean, I just love the character. I mean, I grew up reading comics, some Batman comics, but, things from probably the 80s, reading The Punisher and The Nam, probably more in the 90s, get to Lobo and 2000 AD and Judge Dredd, and then Batman sort of crept back in again as far as comic reading, probably in the 2000s. I thought I'd get back into reading comics again, and I thought, well, what a perfect place to start. And then the character just really stuck with me. I borrowed a costume off somebody, and boom, I was addicted.
That's it. Now you spent way too much money on
clothes. I spent way too much money, way too much time, and there's way too much stuff on the kitchen table. That shouldn't be there.
Like, I suppose it'd be a little ironic, say, you were in the army and then you cosplay Judge Dredd.
Not so much that. I mean, my job is primarily law enforcement and service on public transport. So I think probably more from probably the link in there is probably, because Batman and Judge Dredd and some of these other characters are all about justice and doing the right thing and upholding the law and maintaining what needs to be maintained to whatever degree and extreme. I mean, we don't certainly go to the same extreme that they do in Mega City 1. But
you might get in trouble for that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I can't go around punching villains like Batman does. But, I think at the heart of it, you just want to do the right thing by people and contribute to community. And if that's the way that you can do that and do that through costuming as well as, in real life, well, all the better.
Great. And what about your character choices?
My characters primarily at the moment are Red Hood, which is, for those that don't know, was the second Robin, who Batman let die, and then came back to life. So I do like to throw it in there. That
couldn't get there in time. Come on.
Yeah, Batman was a failure of a father.
Yep.
We do bring that up quite often. Yeah. And then was reincarnated and came back as Red Hood. To be honest, I've often been asked that question: why Red Hood? And the big thing is, you go to these conventions and you see all the photos and stuff, and like there's a million Deadpools, there's a million Batman.
Harley was the taste.
Yeah, Harley. Harley was this year because the movie's just come out. And when I was sort of getting into it, no one had really done Red Hood, and I just kind of played the video game. And he's been into video games now, so I kind of that's a character that I kind of associate myself with, and really wanted to put it basically bring him out there and show him to the people. I like to think now that Red Hood's becoming more mainstream to a degree.
I think you're right there.
There's he's people like when I first started, who are you? And then now walk around a supernova and say, oh, that's Red Hood. And when I first started a year ago, because I've been doing cosplay for just over a year. First time I was in a Red Hood at Supernova, there was 4 or 5 of us now. So he started to get more mainstream and become more popular. And fingers crossed we'll see him on the screen soon. And it's good to have a character that can mess with Al a bit as well. So,
because they love doing that. If it's not the old man thing, it's
you've got to have some reason to do it in there.
Exactly.
So I mean, I enjoy Red Hood, and my progress with him now is getting pretty good. I like to think that I'm at a good level now, where I'm one of the better ones within Perth, definitely. But I'm getting up there within Australia as well.
Well, I mean, he's a great character, and he has some fantastic story arcs, and he's definitely one of those characters that has a lot of. How would you say it? There is a lot of backstory to him, a lot of depth to him. And
people have often said to me, who is he? And I'll go into full detail with him. Like, well, I didn't realise there was so much stuff behind who he is and how where he came about. And you say to some people, oh, he was the Robin that died. I said, how many Robins are there? There's people that just they just say, is there more than one Robin? And it's like, they've all got their own individual identity. So also, I like the attitude that he's got. He's very much I'll try and keep my swearing down, but he's got very much don't give a shit attitude. Basically let the guns do the talking.
Yep, doesn't play by the rules.
Yeah, doesn't play by the rules. So while I like to think that's a part of me, I play by the rules sometimes, but I like to basically put the helmet on and take on that persona. Yeah,
I mean it is a bit of a fantasy cosplay, isn't it? I cosplay, and my 2 favourite characters are Elsa and Black Canary. And there's obviously fantasies in there, pretty sparkly dress, superpowers, and Black Canary is just a freaking badass. So there's definitely a fantasy element to it. Are you working on any more costumes?
I really wanted to, and I talked about this on the weekend at Supernova with the guys. I would love to get into the hospitals with the kids.
Yeah.
But Red Hood's really not probably a kid-friendly
really.
hospital character. So I'm looking to find a character that's different, but is still kid-friendly, but while still maintaining Red Hood. Like I've just purchased some more Red Hood stuff to continue upgrading. But still looking at a character, but don't know who yet.
Yeah, fair enough. I know, Al, you already do some of the charity stuff.
Yeah, so, well, with you, I'm part of the Watch Network with our team of Charity Heroes. So pretty much, we do, different events, and I think we did some Sirens of Silence and Black Dog on a Leash last year, plus, when PMH was at PMH before they moved down to the new Children's Hospital, we'd go there on a Wednesday, every second Wednesday afternoon for the barbecue and, just basically hang out with the kids and the families there and, put a few smiles on the faces for an hour or so and I guarantee you that, the kids aren't the only ones having a smile because, when you go there and you see what some of these kids are experiencing and going through and just the courage that they put on, it's just amazing. So it really makes it worthwhile, and I think that, to have another excuse to put on the costume but also give a bit back to community is like really important, and that's the aspect I like. And it's no hassle, and it's just pretty relaxed, and whilst going to the cons is just super fun, and you can run amok a bit and do what you like. Like within the hospital, you've got responsibilities there too, so you're working with children's clearances and all the other things that go along with that. But just going there and coming back and feeling really rewarded and humbled in a way, I think is really important. So I love the charity stuff now. It's really good.
There was a few kids like 5, 6, 7 year olds that actually knew who I was in cosplay, and having them come up and saying, can I hold your gun, or can we have a photo, can we have a hug, and then just seeing the smiles on their face and the smiles on their parents' faces, it just made it all worthwhile. There's one photo which I really do treasure. There's a kid, he's holding my gun, he's pointing it in the photo at the camera, and it's like, you can just see the smile on his face, and he's really, really digging it, and that just made my day.
Yeah,
it really did.
I guess, obviously we know it's all fake. Superheroes are all fake, that kind of stuff. But a lot of kids really do look up to these characters, and they find ways to emulate these characters. They find reasons that these characters mean something to them. They learn something from them. When we had the Anzac Appeal in the city, the kids were doing the same thing with the soldiers, and it's that very similar, real life superhero kind of thing that they get to see, interact, talk to. So it's great that you guys get out there and do that in any way you can.
I think it is important, because look, kids are a big part of what costume is. From my own experience, I've had some really wonderful opportunities to meet with families and then be contacted through like my Facebook page again to meet with those same families the next year. So, there was a couple that I met probably 3 years ago now, and their baby was about 6 months old, and so now every year at the convention we'll meet up and have a photo. So now we've got like 4 photos. We've met up 4 times, and it's just really good, and it just sort of warms your heart a bit. It's also funny to a point too, because kids are quite comfortable with you being on the TV or on their lunchbox or on the Duna cover or wherever your Batman appears, but when they see someone in real life who's standing there and actually speaks, they can get quite intimidated by that as well. So you've got to be aware of the fact that, yes, while your character is really well known and people recognise it straight away, is that it can be quite intimidating for some kids as well to actually have that person standing in front of them. So it's getting down to their level, kneeling down, maybe a high five, just basically trying to break that ice a bit, seeing that mum and dad are comfortable with you as well, and that's someone else. But yeah, the kids are a really big part of it. And I've had some fantastic photos, with the kids and people too, that I sort of think, wow, that was a really great moment. And when the parents send that to you, like through your social media account, you know that you've had a big impact on it. So, yeah.
And a lot of them do make the point of trying to track you down on social media to send you the photo and thank you for the opportunity that you gave their kids.
Oh, absolutely, and that really, and I try and respond to everything that. I haven't got a massive following on my social media, but I try and make the point of at least acknowledging every person who puts a post on or makes a comment, because I think it's important that you do. If people are going to take the time out to follow what you do, I think it's important to try and at least respect the fact that they've made a comment or send you something and say thank you, in the minimum, or just a little emoji, to at least say, no, you've seen what they've put up there for you.
Yeah, absolutely, fair enough. And I saw recently pop up on your page that you had an opportunity to photograph in the 1960s Batman costume with the 1960s Batman.
Oh, I tell you, that was so good, right? So I got...
that did make him feel old.
Yeah. So, my costume's based on like your 70s and 80s classic style Batman. So it's not 100% like one that Adam West Batman is from the TV series, but I was offered the opportunity to go along to like a big sort of open promotion of this new 66 Batmobile that a fellow by the name of Andrew has built in Perth, and I'll tell you, it is a beautiful car. It is so nice, and I really look forward to the opportunity to get up there and have a good look through it, because through the lenses in my cowl, it does make things a little bit sort of fuzzy, but yeah, it's such a nice machine. And so I was getting ready. I saw him parking it and introduced myself out of costume, said, look, I'll be your Batman today. He said, oh yeah, cool, no worries. And then I went upstairs and got changed. And I came down, and all of a sudden there was this sea of children there, probably about 20 odd kids from the local daycare, and they're all in Batman masks and t-shirts because I've had some flyers go out to the local businesses in Wellington Square there to let them know that it was coming in, and then had some fantastic photos and just seeing people's reactions. I mean, it wasn't about me, but to be able to at least represent the character that is acknowledged along with that vehicle, or Batman and a Batmobile. They're iconic, and but just the faces on the people and all the photos, and it was amazing. Look, it really did take me back to that 8-year-old that's I've got a photo of standing there with my Corgi Batmobile and Batboat that I got one Christmas, and it's just like, wow, what a dream car. Like,
and Batman is such an iconic character, and he's just continued over the years from the 60s right up until today. He's still a really relevant character, and there's so many incarnations of him. So why that Batman?
That's a good question. When I first got into cosplay, it was just I was on Boxing Day at our house one year, and I'd been to Supernova probably twice before, but out of costume, just to see really what it was all about. And I met some like George Perez, who's a bigger artist within the comic industry, and some other people, and thought, this is a really good environment. I think the inner geekiness came out of me maybe, and so one Boxing Day we were at home, and I said, a friend of mine whose kid was about as big as I was had this Batman mask and a costume, so I said, let me try that on. And I think from that point there, I said to a mate, hey, we should go to Oz Comic Con when it comes to Perth, because it was the first year Oz Comic Con was coming. And so we did. So we dressed up, and he went as Bane. I think at that point, one of the Dark Knight or Batman Begins movie had just come out, so the characters were sort of quite relevant. And so we went there and just had an absolute ball. And I thought, I need to upgrade this. So I upgraded it I started upgrading for my wife's birthday. We had a fancy dress party, and so I started buying some bits from overseas and putting it together. And at that stage, I was sort of more of a black and grey style comic Batman. And then I'm like, do you know what? I love the blue look. And there's always a debate about, is Batman blue and grey or is he black and grey? And, the blue comes in through colouring styles in the comics back in the day. But I thought, I'm going to change this. So I painted my cowl with some plastic dip blue, and then I sewed a cape, and then I sewed some trunks, and then I made some boots, and just went through YouTube learning how to do these things. And before I know it, I had this really, what I thought was a really smick looking costume, and I was just stoked. And then I wore it to a convention, and just wow, like really good. But I just love the look of it. I just think there's something striking about the blue, and it's probably a lot more recognisable to people in blue just through older comics, and some of the older fans of comic fans that I'll meet who come up and say, man, it looks really good, Like one guy said, look like an action figure. Probably a bloated action figure on some days, but, I wish I was as cut as what Batman is, but, I've got to work on that. But, to get that sort of feedback and people say, oh, look, it's a guy from the TV show, and I don't always like to correct people all the time. It's just, some people will say, oh, look, there's Neil Adams Batman. I'm going, yeah, man, that's exactly what I'm trying to emulate, and that sort of makes me think I've done a good job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love the blue Batman.
It also doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl. I've got a 4-year-old daughter, and my daughter loves Al in Batman.
Yeah.
We were at Supernova, and she hung around him all the time. We went home, and I said, who's your favourite character? Batman. Batman. I love Batman. She just loves Batman. Like last night, I was at the gym last night in my room, and she goes, Daddy, can we watch Batman? So I put on Batman. There's me doing my weights, and she's watching Batman in there with me. So
I'm so proud.
He's just such an iconic character, and for my daughter to just love Batman, and then but sort of also love Al's Batman, because there are other Batmans there, but she just loved. I think just the colour. I mean, she loves colour, but just Al's suit as a whole.
Yeah.
She loved Batman.
Yeah, I think Al's suit is, maybe it's because of the colouring, maybe because it's not as harsh and like really fake muscles and everything.
Yeah.
It's a bit more approachable for the kids than the big scary.
And like you see all these Batmans, and they're all just the black. Just standard black. It really is the blue and the emblem that really makes it pop.
Yeah, it's very bright. It's very eye catching. Yeah. You walk past, and you're like, holy crap, it's Batman! Yeah, it's very exciting.
And it is good to see a lot of the other different Batman characters there. And what I'll try and do is try and have photos with the other Batman characters too. That you can sort of show generations of the character. in the much same way as you got, the generations of the Robin and things. So there's probably been 5 or 6 different Robins, including some female Robins over the course of Robin's history. And even when you've got, say, Red Hood, who's come back and is his own character now, because he was allowed to be killed off as Robin in DC, through an audience or fan vote, effectively. They didn't know whether to keep him on TV.
The rigged fan vote.
So the fans voted and said, "No, kill him off." So he got killed by the Joker.
Yeah.
And then sometime later he came back as Red Hood, and it's like, who is this guy? And it's Red Hood. And then I think even in his Arkham Origins, you've got Arkham Knight, which I think is a reincarnation of Red Hood, but a futuristic Red Hood again. So, but
well, even Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing. So you've got you've always got the generations evolving. So he goes from Robin to Nightwing, and Tim Drake takes on a different version of Robin. And then obviously Damien takes a different version of Robin again. So, Robin's a lot like Batman. The continual evolving of that particular character.
Yeah, and Batman really does have that family unit around him a lot. I mean, you see that he's like, "Oh, I'm the sole person and I work alone," but he's got this massive family unit around him, multiple generations. You don't really see that with a lot of the other.
And even the additions like his Batgirl, Batwoman, that sort of stuff as well.
I think you're right. I think if you were to sort of break it down a bit, and you asked before about how it sort of correlates to defence, whatever else, and what I do now is that I suppose when everyone's an individual and your focus is about you primarily, but when you're surrounded with other people who provide either direct or indirect support network, I think that's really important. I think probably just thinking about it now, it's probably pop more than anything, is that we're here as 2 ex-soldiers, and we had a defence family, and that extends out further. So while you may not necessarily be with those people all the time, you do sort of rely on that and reflect on that, and those people are there as part of your support and your team, whether it's daily or weekly or once a year when you might catch up on Anzac Day or something like that, or even at a convention. And when you find out just primarily through probably more social media than chatting about it, is that oh, Paul, you're ex-army, or another guy, Gary, you're ex-army as well, and you have another connection which gives you something else to talk about, and it's like, oh yeah, cool, man, you're an AJ, what'd you do? Did this, oh cool, that sounds really good, oh, where'd you serve? So it promotes a whole new level of conversation, and then before you know it, you've built a little side community as well.
And there is that little veteran cosplay side community popping up in Perth now, isn't there?
Well, I think so. I think when we start to find out who's who in the zoo, it's it just gives you something more, and you can say, hey, do you want to catch up on what are you doing for Remembrance Day? What do you do for Anzac Day? How do you connect with your mates? What are you doing there?
You're having a hard time. Let's get together and we'll build something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really important. Probably more so nowadays, and there's a lot more fellas. I mean, when I joined up, there really wasn't a lot happening overseas. I think some fellas that I enlisted with went to Somalia, and there was guys going to Rwanda, and there was some peacekeeping stuff going on in Cambodia, and all over the place really. But there wasn't a lot of opportunity to get overseas like there is now, and actually deploy. So I think having those support networks in play for the guys and girls in our defence force nowadays is really important. And I think that if just people just connect through conversation or through hobby or whatever else, I mean, you don't have to be crying on each other's shoulders every single day, but to have that extra level of support, if you need to, and that level of mateship that really shines through. And even in my current job, I connect really well with the guys who are ex-army, or even guys who are currently, one of my guys now has just joined the reserve. So I'm like, yeah, cool, man, that's really good. And I encourage some of the kids that I deal with at work who are finding it really hard, or they've got they're getting in trouble a lot, and it's just like, what do you think about a career in defence? Because you really can't go wrong with that as far as a career or getting a trade or some sort of skill. And you can get qualified now when you get out. Like when I joined up, I think I walked away with some extra codes on my driver's license in Queensland, which didn't convert to much when I got back over here to Perth. So, now you can convert a lot of those skills into civilian life, which makes it a lot easier to get into work as well. You don't have to just worry about going into security or police or whatever you want to do. There's a lot more diversity you can draw out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunities nowadays. The government, the Defence Force, the ESOs, they're all starting to learn and recognise the needs of the younger veterans, which is a fantastic thing to see. Because as you said, 10 years ago, those opportunities weren't really there. So it's great to see that they're coming out and changing now.
And that is a big part as well. Like back in the day, but veterans would leave and they'd be too old to join the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a lot more veterans that are coming out who are still well and truly able to enter the workforce. So that that transition and that change is not specifically more important now, but it's more like it's a lot easier for them now to find work than what it was back in the day.
For me, I think getting into cosplay was initially a curiosity, and then doing it pretty much became the addiction. Well, not really an addiction, but I just love it. I'll say
it is an addiction.
Yeah.
The constant upgrade. It is an addiction.
But for me, it's really as a social beast because for the most part, I'll see people once a year, other than on social media. Like I'll see people once a year, unless you're doing charity things quite regularly and that with people. You don't see people. So now we have like one big convention a year plus a few smaller ones which are getting bigger and bigger. So if you're lucky, maybe twice a year you might bump into people. I mean, I think the last time I saw Paul, I bumped into him, aside from Super, I bumped into him at a toy collector fair. So that was, a few weeks ago, and I actually maybe it evolved too. But before that, you just wouldn't see people around because, I wear a mask, Paul wears a mask, who knows what people look like. I've bumped into people at train stations and it's been, hey, how you going? And they look at you like really strangely, and so I put my hand over my eyes and say it again, and they go, oh, it's you. Like, yeah. So, I mean, even just wearing a mask, you're hidden away a little bit, but I think once you start to get to know people and you do become more social, it's you break those barriers down again, so they do know what's under the mask, and sometimes that mask hides a lot more than what you're prepared to let people know about, which is fine. But it is social, and that's what I get out of it more than anything. So for me, to go on a Supernova and even Oz Comic Con when it was here, it's just a weekend of getting a leave pass from my wife, and by saying I'm dressing up for 2 days and just having some fun. And it's like, okay, go. So I get dropped at the train station, catch the train in, and then say, can you pick me up from the train station at the end of the night?
Yep.
And do that for 2 days, and I'm buggered, and
Yes,
I'm busting for a wee because you just cannot go to the toilet when you're wearing a Batman costume.
So you got into it because of curiosity.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who are curious about finding out or trying cosplay?
Just come along to a convention, have a look, and I'll guarantee if you go along one time, because there's some guys at work who say, I really wouldn't mind trying that. So we'll just do it. Yep. If you want a hand to make something or get some ideas, I'm happy to help out. I love to share things, and I love to see how people evolve. I mean, when I first met Paul, probably about 12 months ago, I think it was at Evolve, wasn't it, when I was at the town hall there? Yeah. It was like, this guy turns up in a Red Hood costume. Oh man, that costume looks mint. Let's go and grab a beer.
Yep.
At lunchtime. So in there was about 8 of us all sitting around this round table at one of the bars next door, having a beer and having a laugh and stuff. And then when we bump into him the next time around, it's like, oh, I'm doing all these upgrades, and it looks even better. And so you see the evolution of people's costumes, and you meet new people, and you have that connection because you've got the same interest in your characters or your genre. So I know people do anime, but I'm not really big on anime, so I don't understand a lot of it. But I'll give kudos to people who build and create and sew and craft things that look fantastic. And doesn't matter if you're big, small, whatever person you are, as long as you're being that character that you love and you're enjoying yourself, what, more power to you. That's what I'll say. But just the evolution of building stuff and seeing people do it and seeing people come in, just even if it is through curiosity or a dare or whatever it is, whatever it turns out to be, I think that's a good way to get involved.
And a big thing is we all start somewhere. You can't. Well, I mean, you can, but unless you've got buttloads of money and you're really the best talented person in the world, you need to start somewhere. You start simple, and you see all these pictures, and you learn stuff, and you save your money, and you gradually evolve your character. As I said, unless you have a buttload of money, you can just go online and just buy this awesome suit straight out, which generally isn't what cosplay is about. You got to start somewhere. So it's just about just rocking up, and people don't judge, because it's not like, oh, my Red Hood's better than your Red Hood. It's, oh, you're cool, you're a Red Hood, you're Red Hood. So it's you got to start somewhere. So people, and I've had people say to me, oh, yeah, I'm too scared to do that character, or yours is really good, I'm too ashamed to stand next to you. But it's not about that. It's about just putting the helmet on and enjoying what you've done, and just if you want to evolve it, awesome. If you don't, well, what you've done is awesome too. Fantastic, guys. Before we wrap this up, you've got social accounts. Tell us about it, where people can find you. So my Facebook page is Cape Crusader of Western Australia, and on Instagram I run by Cape Crusader Cosplay. I just use my Instagram for cosplay, so mine's just Nush316, so NUSH316. My Facebook's just my own, so I don't use that for my cosplay. So
don't follow him on Facebook.
Don't follow me on Facebook.
Just go on his Instagram. There's some good stuff.
Just my Instagram is where I do all my cosplay. So that's where I put up all my photo shoots and stuff. So yeah, just had a photo shoot done. So that's filtering through slowly.
Oh, good. So we're gonna have to jump on and see some new photos then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us, guys.
No, thanks for having us. Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.
This podcast was edited, published and produced by the RSLWA. Head to www.rslwa.org.au for other content. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.